Welcome to the Weekly Wednesday Warrior, sponsored by Pow Card Games and Comics in Port U in New York, where we review weekly comics. Weekly, I'm Skylar Hathaway.
I'm Chris Potter.
Let's get this show on the road. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing alright.
It's something I usually don't bother to ask, is like how my co-host is doing. Something I should consider doing more often, I feel. Be considerate to your co-hosts. It's a good idea. What do we got on the docket this week, Chris?
We're talking about Batman 133, Joker number 6, and Moon Knight 21. 21.
And I'm going to take care of these honorable mentions before we get to do so at the end of the video.
Okay.
Some other comics we think you should check out this week. One of them is Clear by Scott Snyder and Francis Manapul. Another one is Avengers 66 by Jason Aaron, Javier Garron, and a colorist, Jim Toe, I think, who does a good job. I wanted to mention him. And was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I don't think so.
So a couple of honorable mentions. But yeah, Batman, Joker, Moon Knight, starting out with Batman.
Alright.
So try and summarize this to the best of my ability, because I think this issue was a little bit easier to summarize than the other ones, honestly. My summary ability is not as good as yours. Batman, okay, well, if you watched the last, the Weekly Wednesday Warrior, where we reviewed Batman 132, you will hear me say at the end of our review of Batman 132 that I was assuming that this issue would be all Batman, or a lot of Batman.
Yeah.
And my assumption was correct.
Uh-huh.
They really delivered that in this, and I'm pretty stoked about it. I think Chris probably on the same page, because we've been dealing with 2 to 3 issues of stuff that isn't necessarily Batman relative, and it's hard for me to determine because Grant Morrison's done some really similar things to this already. So this is kind of Batman relative. It's just not, he's not boots, heels to the ground, walking around Gotham, doing the villains thing. He's in a different universe, so he's got to get accustomed to that.
Yeah.
So now in this, he's kind of establishing himself as the Batman in this universe that he's living in. I think it starts out with him beating up on this universe's Riddler, who's wearing red instead of green, which I found was like an interesting way to show that this is a different universe as Riddler.
Yeah.
But he was still doing more or less the same kinds of things.
Plays into the visual motif of the Arkham villains, too. They've all been in that sort of red and white getup, besides the police, who are in a sort of gray type thing.
Yeah. So, and that's probably because of this red mask guy, I have to assume. So we deal with it. He beats up Riddler, and then I think for a little while in the book, they just kind of show him what I would say doing his rounds, showing him being Batman for a while.
Instilling the fear into the cops that work for Red Mask. There's a scene where he fights Harvey Dent again as like this judge character. This time he thoroughly beats him, and then when the cops, like Harvey calls in the cops to help him, they're too afraid because he's Batman now.
Yeah, I love Judge Dent.
Yeah.
I think Judge Dent is hilarious. Every time he shows up in the book, I'm like, this is referencing so many things that I like that it just makes me laugh, even though it's not there for comedic purposes. I really like the inclusion. He doesn't seem very Two-Facey either. He's pretty strapped in like one line.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like Harvey, and he doesn't seem like Two-Face. So he is Judge Dent. This is almost a new spin on the Harvey Dent character in a way.
Almost similar to would they call him the Executioner? The animated series third persona that he had.
Okay. Yeah, alright, I can see that. It's like a blending of both those personalities, basically. Which this is a different world, different universe. You can see how that could happen. So he does his rounds, and then I think we cut to Catwoman talking to Red Mask about how annoying Batman is being, basically. And how he keeps on foiling Red Mask's plans or what have you, scaring the Gotham villains into not wanting to do the stuff that Gotham villains tend to want to do. And Red Mask orders Catwoman to lay a trap for the Batman. Very classic Catwoman trope there. So she goes to do so, but in the midst of doing that, Batman, he is so not Bruce in this issue, whereas he's been Bruce for the past 2 issues. I don't even think he takes the cowl off in the whole issue. So when I say Batman, I really mean Batman. Batman goes to dig up the grave of the Bruce Wayne that did exist in this universe, because he's starting to get the hints that there is more to this Red Mask character and further that this Red Mask character, and maybe even this guy Halliday that's supposed to be this universe's Joker, had something to do with Bruce Wayne's death. And then, I don't remember where it was, but I made a note of it, that there's multiversal energy. I think he senses it in the dead Bruce Wayne's body.
Yeah,
or
so
something.
Batman goes to, it looks like just a regular hospital. I think they actually mentioned it was one of the buildings Bruce built when he was still a philanthropist. When he was alive, when this universe's Bruce was alive and he was helping out the poor, building hospitals and stuff, he built like a hospital.
Yeah.
And Batman is using one of these hospitals' EMT machines to check out the corpse of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, right.
So,
And
he
Jules
finds,
there, I think,
yes.
to help him get into the hospital or something like that. And yeah, so he finds the multiversal energy in the body, and this is after he gets the body and goes to get the body from what seems to be what's left of Wayne Manor.
Mm-hmm.
And at Wayne Manor, Alfred comes, who probably still lives there,
Yeah.
comes out with a shotgun, seeing that somebody is digging up his dead son's grave. He immediately, I think that's the one time he does take off his cowl, actually. Takes off his cowl to show Alfred that he's Bruce Wayne from a different universe. And it takes Alfred a moment to swallow it, but then he puts on this, Zdarsky puts on this heavy emotional Alfred stuff, shows again that Alfred is Batman's rock, his concrete, his foundation, that without Alfred, Batman probably, if would exist, would not be the same Batman that we know and love. And he just kind of says that in a way that really drives the emotion forward in Alfred and breaks Alfred down and lowers his shotgun real quick, because he realizes that this really is my son from a different universe or something to that effect. This guy is not lying, you know. That emotion, that I'm probably going to put up a page here over here for that, because that was one of my favorite parts of this comic book is seeing Alfred. Because we don't get a lot of Alfred stuff anymore in Batman comics because he's dead in the main run,
right.
Which means he's dead in Detective on top of that. So, in a way, this kind of feels like Zdarsky cheating his way an Alfred character into the book. Mm-hmm. Good writing. That's a good way of doing things. You have a problem, you need a tool to solve it, figure out a way to bring that tool into it. And he did a good job doing that. It was seamless. You know, it didn't feel like you were being forced Alfred stuff or anything like that. So, solid page, solid emotional response from Alfred. Dude breaks down, lets Batman walk away with his dead son's body, goes to the morgue, goes to wherever you identify bodies and stuff.
Yeah. He's actually just I think he's just at a normal hospital, just trying to do his best with what he has.
Right. Because it does seem in this world he is limited, for sure.
I really like that DIY element to this Batman.
Yeah, it makes you feel more like a year one kind of thing, which is kind of what he's going for anyway, because it is his year one in this universe and stuff.
Yeah, so build himself back up.
So I don't necessarily remember her. Oh, Catwoman finds him, and after he's done the research on the body, and Batman's like, "Bring me to Red Mask!" And Catwoman's like, "Yeah, no problem, bud." And I think that's where the issue ends.
She takes Batman to the Arkham Caves, and that's where we end up.
Right. So, which, I think is another reference to the third Chris Nolan film, because Catwoman drags Batman down into the basements of Gotham in that movie to find Bane. Total trap, same situation, same kind of seemingly trustable. Selina Kyle is not seemingly trustable at all. Yeah. So here you got Zdarsky again pulling from a whole bunch of different Batman things that he probably knows and loves, and he's the type of guy that he's totally homaging these things. He's not doing these things coincidentally. This dude loves the mediums that he's involved in, and so to see these things homaged and used and then put into one neat little fashioned up book feels pretty good. Yeah. And makes you realize too that there are certain things about Batman that you'll never be able to get around, and that's that Batman's going to be going to Gotham sewers. Yeah. This is an important part of Batman, sewage. What'd you think of the book overall, Chris?
It was really good. I really liked the writing in this issue. Talking about that Alfred moment, there's a really great line where Alfred is kind of berating Batman, how he ruined this party, how he's been trampling around Gotham, and Batman has this response, like, I have to save Gotham, because I was raised by Alfred Pennyworth.
Yeah.
Such a good line.
Yeah.
One thing, I'm not going to disagree that Catwoman's leading to a trap, but Zdarsky's trying to build some conflict about what her real motivation is, because he sets up with the Red Mask conversation. Catwoman's really mad about what Red Mask's been doing to kids. And one of the things is Riddler was messing with these kids, sending them to Arkham the Arkham caves through these like bizarre riddles. And if they fail, you go right to the mental institution.
They open up the book with the Riddler torturing children with riddles.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. But it's not the first time we've seen that. I call that as a reference back to Scott Snyder's Zero Year. So, similar here, this kid fails to answer this riddle at all. The kid's terrified, scared out of his mind.
Yeah.
Probably just saw the Riddler, like, plug 2 kids before him for failing to answer the riddle. And then, Riddler looks like he's going to go do something scary, and that's when Batman swoops right on and saves the kids and stuff. So, yeah, this dude, he's pulling from all sorts of great parts of Batman.
The other very strange thing that you didn't mention, when Red Mask fights Selina Kyle, he seems to exhibit
fast.
some kind of like Speed Force almost.
Yeah.
Energy. Like a Flash type power.
Which I'm going to take this opportunity to compliment the art in this issue, and similarly to the writing. The past 2 issues have not been as strong as this issue, and I think that's because they've been building something, and when you are, not just as a writer who's building something, but as an artist who's working with a writer who's building something, if you can lend your art skill to that building, then the book will turn out to feel more rewarding in a way.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was one of those issues where I finally got my payoff here.
I've never seen Mike Hawthorne look this good. I thought this issue looked really good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if this was what he was outputting on Daredevil, I don't think I would have minded as much that Giacchetto wasn't on the book.
Yeah.
I feel like this really showcased Hawthorne's strengths more than anything else.
Yeah.
This was crazy good.
Yeah. That being said, it's still no Jorge Jimenez. If they wanted to drop Mike Hawthorne and Adrian Benedetto for Jorge, me and Chris would not be complaining. But this guy may have been toning down his art for 2 issues for all we know.
Sure. Or now that he's drawing Batman now. He's not drawing Bruce Wayne stuff. He's more excited, probably energized. He gets to design a new Batman costume. Do you have any thoughts on the Batman costume?
Yeah, that's one of my notes. His art, before I comment on the Batman costume, totally to do that. His art it's penciled by Mike Hawthorne and inked by Adrian Di Benedetto, and it seems like to me the only thing that they don't do well is people.
Okay.
Faces.
It's hit or miss, I think. I think there are some really good Bruce Waynes. A couple when he's drawing the Alfred scene, I thought Alfred looked pretty good. Sometimes Selina Kyle looks off.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. His people are inconsistent.
Yeah.
If there's any difficulty, that's where he's having it. I don't see that difficulty anywhere else.
No.
If he's drawing buildings, skyscrapers, backgrounds, designs on character, like materials, suits, stuff like that. Even just like general panel layout, flow of reading. If he ever breaks panels, it feels efficient and well. Everything about the art in this book is great. The only thing that seems inconsistent is his actual figures and characters, which is weird for a comic artist. Usually that's a huge strength, is your ability to draw people. So it's impressive to me whenever I see... And you know what? And he probably knows his strengths, too, because a lot of this issue was spent drawing the cooler stuff. Wasn't spent drawing all of these people that he's been drawing for the past 2 issues, introducing characters constantly in these past 2 issues or so. So... He even gets an opportunity, like Chris just said, to redesign the Batman costume. And I don't know if Zdarsky had any hand in that, but I really dig it. For
helmet's a little bulky, but besides that, it kind of works too, because it's supposed to be improvised and protected without the normal
money.
Without the normal utility Batman has to create something like that.
Without
There's
money.
No Kevlar. Yeah, he has no money. He can't research and develop anything. Can't build any weird Kryptonian.
He's probably scavenging this stuff. Also,
he's making it off like police helmets. That
where is his utility belt?
Still
from 3 issues ago or 2 issues ago? How has he not gotten around to this? All right, we leave that alone. Or start complaining too much. But the suit looked really good. Has a really large, big black Batman symbol, which oversells the theme here that Batman is trying to intimidate and scare the hell out of literally everybody in this book, from the civilians on the street to the criminals on the rooftops and what have you. And I'm going to pull a line from here because Batman's inner monologue was so on point.
Yeah.
So on point. I've read so many inner monologues where like he talks like some modern hipster or something of that nature, and it's just, or like Tom Taylor will fit in a joke into like, and it's a subtle. subtle joke, but it's like, come on, Tom, give me a second, all right? I know that you're writing this book. I didn't need to overknow it.
Yeah.
But, you know, Zdarsky doesn't seem to do that. He does the opposite. He's pouring on the Batman stuff hard. So my quote that I'm pulling from here, it's like the first inner monologue line we get from Batman. It's just, it sets the tone for all the rest of the inner monologue. Mm-hmm. Sirens roar through Gotham. Corrupt police scurry, chasing shadows. There's one word on the lips. Batman. Ah, tingles! So good. Love that kind of stuff. Did you catch any of the graffiti in the art this time?
Nah, I wasn't paying attention.
I'm always looking at that stuff, man. So we got some call-outs to Bob Kane, Kelly Jones, Adam West. There was even like one of the crime bosses was graffitied in the back. It was like Maroney or something like that. So that, we know that the crime bosses are in Gotham as well somewhere. I'm really warming up to this. It's honestly kind of fun, too. Because even though it's handling all this dark material and stuff, because we've been building for it for 2 issues, all of the payoffs just seem like literal fun. Like, Judge Dredd fights Batman, not Bruce Wayne anymore, Batman. What happens to Judge Dredd? But he gets his ass handed to him. You know? And then we see... just a bunch of examples of that. The book being fun. I find it fun whenever I see Selina Kyle get to lead Batman into a trap. Yeah. As much as that's an annoying trope and stuff, it's still fun because you know what's gonna happen. Do you remember any like specific fun stuff that you enjoyed out of the book? I know that you were enjoying every page.
Oh, God, yeah.
Chris is a big
Again,
Zdarsky
we
fan.
talked about the Riddler scene at the beginning. I thought that scene was delightfully, it was twisted, but
It was
really
playful.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Zdarsky is like a comedy. He can sell comedy really well. I think he's one of the funniest writers in comics.
Yeah.
If you ever read like his Substack or anything, he's filling that thing with jokes, but I love that he doesn't feel the need to always put that in his writing when it doesn't fit. And like what we said, he can really sell a dark character like Batman or Daredevil without having to rely on jokes to make it fun. And what's fun about this issue is just, it's Batman doing Batman things. After, I would argue, he hasn't been doing Batman things for like since 126 almost. Because he's been fighting Failsafe before this. That's kind of out of Batman's wheel grade. That's the whole point of the arc. Is it's kind of like out of Batman's wheelbarrow is what I meant. I don't even know what the word I just said was.
No, I understood what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not his general wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse, yeah.
Which as a Batman fan, I think you could argue that point real easily, considering he's on the Justice League. He goes and does space stuff all the time.
Oh, sure.
But Batman's primarily a detective mystery figure. That's what his intentions were. Or Chris even said earlier in a conversation outside of this video, he's like a pop art figure when he first came out.
Pulp
art figure.
Like at the Shadow.
So, you're not thinking about him fighting robots in space, especially in the first 20 years of Batman.
Diving off, like, a moon satellite to Earth, almost unscathed. a lot of, it's like a Justice League comic with only Batman. Which in the first arc. And now we're finally back to Batman's on the ground. He's having trouble fighting, like, Two-Face almost. He's on Venom, but, he has to really work for that win.
Seems like kind of like a season 1 and then a season 2.
Yeah.
But
in reverse. Season 2 was like
right,
the first
part. The build-up would be the second season. Really great. This even makes the failsafe stuff seem more rewarding now in a way. The book...
And, Failsafe's objective was to give... Batman injected him with humanity. And Failsafe's humane answer to getting rid of Batman was giving him a world where he could finally feel accomplished again. And we're seeing that now. Batman is re-energized a lot because he's fighting this Red Mask figure. Gotham is a lot more centered around the supervillains, so he has a problem he can fix and feel like he can do it with Batman. It's not our Gotham, which has all sorts of problems and corrupt politicians and all these things he can't fix just as Batman, or will never have the time to. Here's this place where he really can. And yet...
Or at least he feels like he can.
Yeah.
And we're not sure if Failsafe sent him to this world on purpose, but I like where you're going with that.
I think
because he is a
Batman hypothesizes that.
He is a Batman-created thing, and if he is a Batman-created thing, 9 times out of 10, Batman instills his consciousness into these things. So the software, the Failsafe software, is running on what would I do if I was Batman?
Yeah.
And he's obviously not going to kill the dude, and if anything, he'd probably prefer to give him not a happy ending, but like go and be useful somewhere else. You're still Batman, and you still have your use.
Mm-hmm.
So here's this world that needs a Batman. Boom, go and do your thing. Whereas, like honestly, the world that we are normally coming from probably doesn't need a Batman with the amount of
super people and Bat family members.
family running around. That could easily take the cowl and do a good job. Yeah, man, this book was really good overall. I thought it was really fast moving too. Like whereas the last two issues were pretty much spent panel for panel, we knew everything was going on. This one, there's a lot of in between the panels, time passing.
Yeah,
Batman making himself known, the criminals picking up on that, a trend happening, and even though it is fast moving, the time doesn't feel like it's been that long.
No.
So Batman's actions are being really, really effective, really, really quick.
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that in Batman history, I wouldn't be surprised if Zdarsky brings this around because he loves homaging stuff. Usually, Batman's existence ends up causing more crime because people see that Batman can run around in a mask doing all of this vigilante stuff. Why can't I do the same thing but for different reasons, is what the villain would say. So there's all these established villains and stuff, but Batman might be driving some people out of the woodwork that haven't been a player in the battle so far. So I'm interested to see where the next two issues go with, I bet, more characters that Zdarsky's going to pull out and show us different forms of.
Yeah.
And I bet one or two of them are directly related to, I saw Batman and now I need to do things, you know? I think that... the last thing I got to cover is... I wouldn't say I'm a writer. I like to dabble. I like to dabble in lots of things, art, all sorts of stuff. But one of the things I like to profess in is knowing how writers work, because I like to write myself. Mm. And if I were ever to write Batman, and I don't know if I ever will, but I know that I'm never ever going to waste a riddle probably on anything but writing a Riddler story.
Yeah.
I'm under the impression that people that know they might write Batman save their riddles. Because original riddles are not easy to come up with. Trust me, I've tried. I have like 2. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because I'm saving them for a story maybe one day.
Yeah.
You could go and Google riddles. Easy. No problem. But they're not going to seem as original. And I don't know that Zdarsky didn't do that for this.
Yeah.
But I'm really under that impression that you don't want to be that guy who Googled riddles and put them in your Batman book.
I'll give him a little flack. That coffin one I've heard a couple times before. He uses the what do people buy but don't need but they will later, something like that. I don't know
right,
the riddle
I understand
exactly.
What you're saying.
The coffin one. So, it's pretty iconic.
So for all I know, these might have been Googled, and I hope that that's not the case. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here on the other 1 or 2 riddles there. But yeah, I'd imagine you'd do the same thing if you knew you were going to write Batman. Like, I could go using riddles here and there. There's only so many. Like Tom King had some really great riddles throughout his run. There's Matthew Rosenberg was doing a book called Joker's Puzzle Box.
Huh?
There was a whole basically like Riddler issue in that,
and
it's filled with great stuff, really great stuff, which is a pretty cool transition to go into the next book. Robin, the backstory. Yeah, the Robin backup. That's funny. Usually I'm the guy who tells Chris, let's do the backup.
Yeah.
This means that Chris is truly enjoying this backup story.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
That's what's up. Well, you want to take a summary on it then?
Okay.
Cool.
Robin has run into the Toyman. Toyman has his army. Robin...
Still in a different universe.
Yes. Yeah. Robin really quickly throws all these transmitters on them. So he has these things that will take him home instantly. All these real people as well as the Toyman. There's a problem. There's one other guy somewhere else. So Robin has to make his way through this army. He quickly locks these people in this room. He's like, we're going to be gone 5 minutes flat, but I need some time to save this other guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to help this other guy, finds another Toyman. He has a scalpel to this guy's throat, and we reveal he's making these toys that are real people. We already kind of knew that, but...
Yeah,
and he's operating on him. Robin tries to save him real quick. I think the guy dies, or at least he cuts his throat before he gets a chance to throw the multiversal trackers on them, but gets him on the Toyman, gets him on this guy, gets him out of there, and in the end of the before I go too far ahead, there's a really good internal monologue Robin has when he's doing that, where he's like, I just want to kill him. Because he's about to do this, and he's like, it's another world, no one will know.
Pulling up page here.
But I want to have a good conscience when I see Batman again. So
and that monologue comes right after some really, really sweet action moments.
yeah.
So it's been, we've said this before in the Weekly Wednesday Warrior, this is the best Robin book on the wall at the moment, and this only reiterates that point. If we have said that I haven't seen Robin stuff, Tim Drake Robin stuff that I've liked in years, I haven't seen decent Tim Drake action in even longer. Even in the stuff that I like that has Tim Drake in it, it's probably mostly Teen Titans. And I'm sorry for Tim Drake, but his action's going to get outpaced by all the other characters in that book. All you're going to see Tim is doing like flips in the background where Raven's going, whoa, and stuff. It's not comparable.
Yeah.
So to give Tim a story where he can shine by himself, it's amazing, and he's really, really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It almost gets me emotional because I feel so dang bad for this Batman character that's being abused by DC Comics right now. And he's got such a great establishment in Batman continuity as like basically the smartest Robin Bruce has ever trained, and the poor character. So to see him do this is awesome.
Yeah.
And we just a couple notes on his summary. The way he's doing these like he's trying to bring all these people from a different dimension that Toyman has brought to this dimension back to their home dimension. We're doing more multiversal stuff in this book, just like we're doing in the main book. The reason for it is Robin's trying to figure out where the heck Batman went. Mr. Terrific in the last issue has basically verified that Robin's theories are totally true.
Yeah.
So now he's in this different world where Toyman has been using people to send them there, turn them into toys or something, then send them back to reality or something like that. A little confusing what Toyman's actually doing still, but that's okay because we're going to probably find out.
Just playing
next
with
issue.
them.
Yeah, Toyman's
and then
crazy.
sending them back when they're broken.
It's absolutely crazy, man. If that's not clear, on page 27, I believe it is, there's this great reveal of a creepy-looking, green-colored Toyman at an operation table, like, cutting this dude open or something, and it's a flip-page reveal. It's really good, what Chris was talking about earlier. And so Robin throws all these spot emitters on the people that Toyman have abducted, and that's how he's getting them to transport back. Is all he needs to do is basically take like a little Starfleet badge and throw it on you, and then they can locate you and bring you back to reality. So it makes this mission a lot easier, I think, for Robin to actually accomplish, because that's not that difficult of a task. When we throw some emitters around, Toyman's not the kind of guy that's going to be able to like stop Robin from tossing emitters on people and stuff. Toyman's an overweight, balding, weird-looking, weird dude.
Yeah,
he's not that capable outside of his wheelhouse of abilities there. So Robin, again, he's really shining. And if that's not clear, the art in this backup story is better than the main story. I don't know how this happened. I don't know why it's happening. But Miguel Mendoza is killing it, man. Yeah. Absolutely killing it. Like half of my notes here are about the art. There's those awesome stick action on page 28. Pulling that up over here and stuff. Some really great speed lines, showing action really fast, still getting the word bubbles in, still getting the pacing down. The readability is absolutely insane. You don't have to skip a beat. You could read this thing and not have to... It flows unbelievably well. I'd say flows even better than the Batman story that we just read. And that might be because the Batman story is kind of taking some pacing, wants you to stop in certain parts. This Robin story is all moving, keeping this thing going.
I think Chip has done a strong job with them for a while. The first, the Zernar one was really good too. I Am a Gun, I think it's called.
Yeah. It was drawn by Leonardo Romero, who I'm a huge fan of. The art was really, really strong, which is what's keeping me to continue to read these backups. Yeah. I'm going to continue to compliment this art. Yep. There are people, and then there are toy people. And in comic book art, making people look cartoony is pretty easy to do. You can do it by mistake even. Yeah. So to be able to differentiate your art to people and toy people, it can't be easy to do. you have to show very specific parts of the human anatomy in order to profess that this is not an actual human being. And the dude does it seamlessly.
Yeah.
See, I don't know that I could that would be super difficult for me to do. And you more of an art background, I'm sure that you'd have the same difficulties and stuff. You really have to think about what you're putting on the page and like where you're putting the stuff on the page in order to really sell that across. And they do it, and it's amazing. And the only other thing I can mention is that they even shove a little Mr. Terrific cameo in the back of this thing, which was sweet, and also tells you we ain't done with Mr. Terrific. He's coming back. Which I'm going to be thrilled to see him again in this book because Zdarsky does him real well. You got anything to add to the backup story?
No, Tim gets him home. I don't think I mentioned that before.
Yes.
That's where Mr. Terrific shows
That's
back
where
up.
Mr. Terrific. Everybody gets home, up to and including Toyman.
Yeah.
And we'll probably figure out what Toyman... Or
Did.
maybe we have already and there just isn't that much there because Toyman's a crazy...
Toyman made the gun that sent Batman back, but I think
That's
they
more
need to
important.
locate where he actually is and figure out how it even works.
And
because they don't have the gun anymore.
And without even asking Chris, me and Chris are both under the impression this Batman story in the main book is going to continue until Robin finds him in the other dimension.
Yeah.
It's gonna come to a headway. These two stories, and that's awesome. That's really good writing. That's keeping you invested in both the A story and the B story on a constant basis.
I wouldn't be surprised, too, if Chip ends this main story on a somewhat unsatisfactory note to leave it for later in the run. Because he's setting up this already element for at any time Batman will get pulled out without his own knowledge.
Yeah.
So we can... I don't know if Chip's going to do this. He has said before, he's in this book for the long haul. He's not just telling stories. Maybe this is something he's setting up for the course of his run, similar to what Tom can do with Bane, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see as it goes on.
We didn't pick up our covers for that. That's Batman. We got the same covers, so.
Jorge Jimenez.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Moving on to The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing.
I got the regular
Number
cover.
6. You got the regular. I got the variant. I'm glad it's on the cover because I'm not familiar with this guy. My variant's by Kendrick Lim. His cover's by the guy who's doing the main stuff in the book, which is D. Carmanicinco.
Yeah.
Hold on. Giandomenico. Carmine Di Giandomenico. Wow, that's a lot of stuff, but this guy deserves the call out because this guy's doing a great job.
Oh yeah.
Joker, man, this was an interesting issue. I'll start with a summary on this, and maybe you can finish it off. This is another simple summary, I feel. The Joker is trying to get back to Gotham. The book starts out, and like a lot of these books start out, you're not sure what Joker you're following,
Yeah.
but it becomes pretty clear, and he doesn't show us more than one Joker in the A story this time.
Yes.
So, which makes me believe that the writer could be playing with us more than we are aware of. And the chaotic nature of this book only sells that even further.
Yeah.
And when I say the chaotic nature of this book, I mean even specifically this issue. There is a one-page cut to Solomon Grundy. I'm going to put that right here.
Force-feeding our other Joker food to keep him alive.
And that's all we get of the
Yeah.
other Joker in this book. And we don't get any more Solomon Grundy. And there's like one line on that page.
Yeah.
He spends a whole page on it. Out of nowhere. No, I don't even think there's like a title card cut like he does with all of the Joker scenes. I really think it's just like, here's Solomon Grundy in a basement in Gotham. Or in the sewers of Gotham. Great stuff. Hilarious. The chaotic nature of this book is one of the elements I love so much. So the LA-based Joker, to our knowledge, is pissed about the Gotham-based Joker and wants to go back to Gotham now, presumably to stop this other Joker or put a cap on him or get things under some level of chaotic control that comes with the Joker. So he's about to leave LA, and he's like, man, this place was easy to take over. This place was a joke. Look at all these cronies I have. There's like 100 of them. People love the Joker in this town. The Hollywood people wouldn't be surprised. Bringing attraction to LA that hasn't happened in a while. Yeah. This is totally believable. He wants to give LA a gift for being so kind to him and letting him make LA his home.
Yeah.
And what's that gift? He blows up 7 police stations. Now, the only complaint I'm having in this book is the art, and probably this is a direction from Rosenberg. The blowing up of the 7 police stations was a splash page.
Yep.
I'm going to put it up right here. I flipped to that page, and that was very unclear to me what I was even looking at. I thought like the explosion kind of looked a little bit like a bat symbol, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It was really dark in the background. You can't see other like city stuff, so it doesn't necessarily look like LA at all. All you see is Joker going like this and being stoked. And then you flip the page again, and he goes and says that, "Oh, I blew up 7, police stations." So then you know. But usually in a comic book, you're going to want to tell your reader what they're seeing or what they're going to see or something before they actually see it. I ain't complaining. I'm just saying more chaotic nature in this book. I'm going to just blow some crap up. I'll explain about it later. So it's not a complaint. It's more like a comment.
Yeah.
So he blows these things up, and then he's like, all right, time to skedaddle. So he gets into his car with his Joker goons, which I'm pretty
Mr. Waffles is one of their names?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 4 of them die in the course of this book, and he just
yeah.
keeps on calling them the same name anywhere or
Yeah.
where. Like classic Joker doesn't give a damn.
They go
about
to the
his
wildlife, he just lets open a bunch of pumas to rip into his own goons.
So now he needs to get to the airport because he's got a private jet that's waiting for him.
He finds out he's going to LAX, and he is pissed.
So
he's
there
not
are,
happy about
there are
this at all.
There are 2 big airports in Los Angeles, apparently. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
One is closer to the Joker, and that's probably where his private jet is parked. So the Joker's like, I'm going to blow up these police stations. It's not going to be a problem. I'm going to jump on my private jet. I'm going to get the heck up out of here. Okay, here's the problem. His thing is at LAX. LAX is across town.
Yeah.
What happens when you blow up 7 police stations?
A riot ensues.
Madness! Chaos! Again, keeping theme with the book. He gets on to a highway and he can't get anywhere. Traffic is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He starts making unlimited traffic
The
jokes.
looters start beating up his own goons, and Joker just doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He
They're
just keeps walking through them.
like tipping over his
The
truck.
rioters barely care that Joker's there.
They throw a can at Joker and tell him to leave, and he's like, I'm trying to. And then they throw, he's out of his truck, and he's yelling at the rioters, like, dude, move, I gotta leave. And then one of the rioters throw a Molotov cocktail into the pit of his truck, setting the truck and the dude who was driving the truck on fire. So Joker's like, well, I guess I'm not getting a ride to the airport. This, leaves his dead crony or whatever. But the comic does move pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's a cut to Solomon Grundy, and then I think after that cut, he's almost at the airport, right?
Yeah.
Where does this book land? I don't remember. He's trying to leave
I
Gotham,
remember
that's
one of
all.
the last things that happened is with the he takes a photo with the Batman impersonator.
Oh yeah, so he's trying to get onto he doesn't even make it to the airport.
Yeah.
He needs a taxi now to get to the airport.
Yeah.
Because his ride has been blown up.
Yeah.
So
and he needs taxi money.
He needs money, and this is why I wanted to set this up properly. He needs money. And a great thing in writing is, in writing, you can do anything you want. It's imagination, it's fiction, write whatever you want. You have a character that needs something, provide him a tool to get that something. Matthew Rosenberg does this seamlessly. Joker's looking for money, he's in LA, he's probably in a big portion of LA where there's taxis and Ubers coming through all the time. He's like, how do I get a taxi in this town?
Yeah.
One of the dudes who's waiting for his Uber goes, use an Uber, you dumbass, And he's like, I don't have a cell phone! And how do I do that?
He calls him a Luddite. I thought that was hilarious.
He curses, he calls him a troglodyte.
Oh,
And-
troglodyte.
Troglodyte. And, but then, he finally gets a taxi's attention, and then the taxi's like, you got money? And he's like, no. And the taxi drives away and goes, crap, how am I going to get some money? And then this Batman dude walks up to him and goes, look, man, you're in my area, get out of here. And Joker's like, what are you even? And the dude's like, you're in my area. All right, look, you can stick around, but we're going to be doing a dual rates, all right? It's going to be 70-30.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to get 15 bucks. You get $7, but you can stick around, I guess. And then a family walks up as soon as they're discussing this. And they're like, hey, can we get a picture with you guys? This is when the readers probably realize this is like the Times Square kind of area in LA, where there's a bunch of people in costume hanging out to take pictures with tourists and stuff of that nature. So a tourist family walks up to ask to take pictures with Batman and the Joker, who are presumably in costume.
There's a great joke where one of the family asks if they can get a Spider-Man instead of a Joker, and he mentions that the Spider-Man has been sent to jail for like public intoxication or something.
I think it's for meth.
Oh, the Freddy and Jason are intoxicated all the time. He calls them drunk bums or something.
So this is definitely, while we're on this subject, this is definitely an adult comic book. This is not a teenage comic book at all. And I'm surprised. I'm not too surprised because I know that they can do this in writing as long as they don't show images. But to see the name Spider-Man in a DC comic book is a little jarring a little bit. In the coolest way. Again, I can't put this theme forward enough. Chaotic. This book is chaotic. Throwing a Spider-Man into a Batman book is chaotic. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I believe the family gets away
Yeah,
safely, but Batman
They're taking a picture.
does not.
They're taking a picture where Batman is like about to beat on the Joker, while the wife is like also being held by Batman.
Yeah.
Batman's like taking him from the Joker,
Yeah.
and
Put up
the
a page.
guy is like, "Can you have a prop or something?" He's like, "No problem." Pulls out his gun,
Yeah, can you
blows
look-
Batman's
I
brains
think
out.
the direction is, can you look more threatening? And
Yeah.
the Joker goes, how's this? And he's got a gun to Batman.
Yeah.
Kills Batman. Then the family runs away, and he steals all of the fake Batman's money, and then gets a taxi. And then I think that's where the book
Yeah.
ends, before the B story. There is some great stuff in this book. Most of it has to do with the chaotic nature of the book.
This book was really funny.
Yeah, there's some solid jokes.
The opening is in a comedy bar where Joker is just hanging out there because he has nothing to do in LA.
It's
He's
LA.
bored.
Yeah. What do you do in the night scene in Los Angeles? You go
And
out.
he's just laughing at this guy's jokes, and this guy's being a real douche. And he's like, "You have a terrible laugh. Stop laughing at my jokes. It's making everyone else feel uncomfortable."
This,
And he's like, "Can we get a spotlight at this guy?"
Have you ever been to a comedy show?
No.
I've been to a bunch of comedy shows. Chris might be reading into this a little funny because he hasn't been to a comedy show. It's not uncommon for comics to pick a person in the audience and start ripping them apart on some
Okay.
level. Especially if that audience member is already being a jerk.
Yeah.
Which, the Joker was being a jerk to this guy because he was laughing wrong timing.
Yep.
He was laughing at jokes that weren't funny, weren't meant to be funny. And so the guy, I don't think he goes as harsh as Chris is saying, but he does say, "Hey, light guy, can we get a light on the guy who's been making fun of me?" And he does. And it's the Joker. And the comedian backs off immediately. But then the Joker takes the stage.
He wants him to roast him, more or less. And he just starts telling a bunch of Joker jokes.
Tears him apart!
And
Does
he's having a great
hilarious
time
joke.
until he brings up Batman.
The
and then
Joker's
Joker,
having a great time
Yeah.
until he brings it back. And so is the comedian is having a fine time ripping the Joker apart up until.
And then he sprays him with the acid flower, melts his face
Not
off.
even. See, he's got a drink he's been carrying the entire time. And the drink's got some yellow liquid with a couple of,
Ice cubes?
no, what's the thing you put on the toothpick and you throw them into the drink? Olives. So it's some olives. Really make it look like it's a martini or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And so he's up there and he's listening to the jokes, and as soon as the comedian touches Batman for even a half second, which again, this is the writer shining through here. This book has not had Batman in it in 6. This is the closest. This book is the closest we've gotten to Batman in this book.
Yeah.
Twice. He mentions Batman in this comic. Joker loses his composure completely. He was totally laughing, enjoying being ripped apart. He loses his composure completely and spills his drink in the face of the dude. The drink is acid. It melts the dude's face. He's on the ground. All of the people that were the audience that were laughing are now running away.
And he tells him he's going to be there for the rest of his life, I think.
Yeah. Makes a cheesy one-liner, and
Yeah.
and then you flip the page into transitions. But the jokes that the comedian were telling were really funny.
Yeah.
They were really
He was having a
accurate.
good time reading it.
You got anything to add to this, Chris?
One thing to add to the summary: Jason Todd was let out of jail. He was arrested last issue. During our
Was he
interview
let out, or
stuff.
did we see him in jail?
We saw him in jail, but they told him he's going to release him because good thing,
Okay.
Joker's in LA. You clearly didn't kill him.
Okay,
He
gotcha.
can't arrest you for anything.
Right.
Also, he shot Clayface anyway. Not
About-
the real Joker.
About halfway through the A story, there's a portion where it looks like Joker wakes up in a car next to his cronies, after being maybe drunk or something like
Yeah.
that. And the first word we get out of him on that page is "What is happening?" And we are 10 pages into the comic book, and the words "What is happening" comes on. And to be honest with you, this is a Rosenberg thing. If you go and read Task Force Z has a lot of really smart, almost fourth world breaking, where it knows that the book is a little off the rails, and it wants to let you know. The creative team knows it too. It's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a self-aware thing where the Joker, a chaotic man, asks, what's happening? Like when he wakes up in the panel as soon as we flip the page to that panel is a self-aware kind of thing the writer's giving us. Because this 6 issues in, the plot is there are 2 Jokers. There's not much plot outside of there.
No.
And to be honest with you, I don't need any more. Just like when I was reading Task Force Z, the plot was Red Hood's got a zombie Arkham team.
Yeah.
That was the plot. There was no, he's got to take this guy down, he's being threatened. No, it was, we have a bunch of toys, let's play with them for a while. And that's kind of what's going on here, and it works even better than it did in Task Force Z because of the chaotic nature of the character. I don't know that I could say that anybody could have written a Joker comic without focusing on Batman on some level. And the last Joker comic by James Tynion was great, and there was a lot of great stuff in it that's similar to this in regards to chaotic nature and the art. But Jim Gordon was a fixture, was the narrator of the entirety of that comic.
Almost the main character.
The book could have been called Gordon, nobody would have winced. It wouldn't have sold as well. But it's a 50-50, if not a 60-40 Gordon Joker book. This is all Joker. This is Joker 120% Joker.
This issue specifically. Usually it's like 90% Joker because Red Hood gets his own little slices of
Well,
story.
I say 120% because we got 2 Jokers.
Sure, yeah.
So, if Red Hood does get a slice, it's the slice of 120% because there's so much Joker there. And I'm really, I can't start stressing enough how much I'm enjoying this book, and I think part of that is because the book is so self-aware. This book is a book that's going to be chaotic. The characters are chaotic. The art is chaotic. The writing's chaotic. Everything about this book is selling the theme of the Joker. And when you buy a book about a character, you want that book to stay true to its character as best it can while developing and delivering you a story that entertains you and progresses the character. The book is doing exactly that. And a whole lot more. It's hard for me to I love this comic book. And I didn't think I was going to love it as much either, going into the first couple issues. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Now that I'm 6 issues into this, I hope that somehow Rosenberg manages to write this for 25 issues in the same exact format, the same exact style. I don't care if this book goes anywhere for the next 20 issues, as long as he keeps me as entertained as I have been in the past 6 issues. I don't know that I could say that about any other comic book on the market right now. You got anything to add before we hit the backup story?
No.
I'm going to compliment the artist one more time in the main book, that Di Domenico. I'm not sure that Rosenberg would be able to pull off half the stuff he's doing without this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's made to draw this comic. Speaking of guys that are made to draw this comic, Francesco Francavilla is not only listed on the cover of Chris's issue that he mentioned, he's listed on my variant cover too. He's nowhere in this comic book at all. The backup story, which me and Chris have almost been enjoying probably as much as the main story, got a little shorted this time around because they dropped Francavilla.
Yeah.
And DC Comics, as much as this guy did a great job in the back of this story, please bring back Francesco Francavilla. Yeah. That man is a saint and a master of his craft.
I could only think about how much funnier
Please.
and better looking that backup would have been if it was drawn by Francavilla.
The backup story felt like it was drawn more like a Batman comic than it was drawn like anything else. This guy's chops were really good. I think the colors were really
but I don't
strong.
think it was for the tone of these backups.
Right,
These backups have been a lot of taking a slice of Silver Age cheese, but really making fun of it.
Yeah.
Having a lot of fun in that tone while also making it a little dark. It's the Joker. It's the modern Joker in the past. This story was funny. I thought it was a good story. I just I didn't think the art suited the tone of the story the same way Francavilla does. And he doesn't have the mastery of shadows of color that Francavilla has, or his unique style. Didn't even try.
So let me go back to complimenting this dude, because I don't want people under the impression that this dude did a bad job. His art is good.
Yeah.
I would put this guy on another book easily.
Sure.
I put this guy on Batman with Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
I think that would look pretty cool. Especially if they keep the same colorist. The colorist was doing a really good job in the back of this
Guy,
backup story.
Fardo Jr. maybe.
Yes, assuming it's the same colorist. But anyway, so yeah, we dropped Francavilla, and honestly, agreeing with Chris, it's a little distracting in a way, because here I am going, even with the he's on the title of the book, going into this book,
It's Hi-Fi.
expecting Francesco Francavilla, and then I'm not at all delivered that. So it's an immediate letdown as soon as you start the story, because Francesco Franciavilla's art is so stunning, so masterful, you will notice it from across the street. So, like, seeing the stuff in the back of the book, you go, oh,
And you don't get any warning
Oh,
because he's on the
no.
cover, and I don't know for what. This must just be like a printing issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone at DC didn't double check.
Those editors are doing a great job. The story was fun. Still,
Yeah.
it's this guy. His name is Ralph. He's the Joker, and
the
he's
Joker's twin brother.
He's the Joker's twin brother, which plays into that continuous gimmick that they've been doing both the A and the B story, that there are multiple Jokers.
Yeah.
And then I thought this one played a little more eerily connected to the A story a little bit. I don't remember exactly what.
Oh my god! I just remembered how the A story ends. Manhunter shows up. That weird like female vigilante character in like a red costume.
Oh yeah, I had no idea who that was.
It's a character
Yeah.
called Manhunter. Very obscure.
Yeah.
Created by Walt Simonson, I think.
Okay. Definitely not.
Was
what
in Event Leviathan recently. Not a popular character at all. I imagine she's just based out of San Francisco, so
yeah.
Rosenberg plugged that character out.
And Joker earlier in the A story does mention that there's been nobody to even come and like take him down. There's no superheroes in LA. So I guess this is Rosenberg trying to say that Joker's ignorant to the little guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this B story, there's two Jokers. They're twin brothers. One's name is Ralph. One's name is Joker. One's the Joker. One's not the Joker. Ralph has a family. Joker doesn't have a family. The Joker dies.
Yes.
Leaves a will to Ralph.
Basically just gives him his clothes and tells him to be Joker.
Yeah, there's a long list of specific missions that he has left for Ralph to accomplish, and they're really classy things. I've, in fact, listed them here. He toilet papers Arkham.
Yeah.
He defeats Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, specifically in football, maybe?
Okay.
Using Skeets as a football. He ruins Easter for Azrael, probably the funniest of those. Azrael's, I'm going to pull this panel up over here. Azrael's like, no, my Easter! And that's the only thing you know that he ruined his Easter.
Yeah.
It's like, my Easter! He steals Superman's briefs.
Okay.
So, like, which is funny because there was a portion where right before Bendis got Superman, that Superman was running around without the red tights.
Since the New 52.
And it was like a big thing, so now we have some background. It was Joker. The Joker stole his red tights. And then he has this Joker parade, which is another homage, I'd say, to the 1989 Batman movie. And the designs on the parades and balloon figures look exactly like the ones in the 1989
Very
movie.
Burton-esque.
And so he pulls off all of these little things that the Joker has left for Ralph to do. And he does a good job. And he's like, man, you know what? Being the Joker is fun. And then the book ends. Because this is the B story, and there doesn't need to be much back here, but fun.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to mention, last page, there's a Zeppelin and there's two giant balloons. They're coming in through town. In that last panel, the Zeppelin crashes into a building. I may pull that up over here for you guys to check out real quick. You got anything to add to that backup story?
No, it was fun.
I'll mention it was co-written by a guy. It wasn't all Rosenberg. It was this guy's last name is Caddy, and then Will Robson did the art. So kudos to Will Robson.
And then I looked at the color. It's the guy Hi-Fi. Does a good job all the time. You see him on a lot of
Yeah,
books.
seriously, kudos to the guy in the backup issue. Like we've said before in the other episodes of the Weekly Wednesday Warrior, you got Jimenez, you got Chichetto, you got Francavilla. You put somebody else to do his fill-ins, they're not going to look as good. That's just the way it is. And it's tough for us readers, and that's why I want to say that, like, Will Robson did do a good job, but bring back the other guy. Come on, I'm paying $6 for this title. He's paying $6 for this title. He's not even getting the variant. Give us what we deserve. All right, moving on. Chris is getting tired over here.
Sorry.
We're going to do this quick. All right, the last and final, maybe not the best. It's hard for me to say that Moon Knight is better than Joker, but Moon Knight is next. Let's hold up this little cover over here. He got the regular cover. I got the variant cover. I don't remember this. Some guy named Horley.
Oh.
I'm not familiar with his work. It looks great.
Looks like
though.
David Finch.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know about that.
Not
Paint
lines.
and like color application. This issue was. I've done most of the summaries. I feel like this time. So you want to summarize this one?
Okay. Soldier and
Reese.
Go to a dance bar. Not a dance bar, a dance club. They're trying to have some fun after all the recent events.
And since we haven't done Moon Knight on the show yet, Mark Spector as Moon Knight has established a church.
The Midnight Mission.
The Midnight Mission in Manhattan. And he's taking in some less than people.
Some vampires and
What
stuff.
I mean by that is they're monsters.
Yeah.
To help him in his mission and his goals in this particular run in Moon Knight. A lot of things have happened. They've established a lot of characters. Two of those prominent characters in his mission are these two characters, vampires, by the name of Reese and Soldier.
Yes.
Like Chris was saying, go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, they're going to this club just to have a good time. Jake Lockley picks them up. This is a recent thing in this Moon Knight book. For the first like 20 issues, give or take, Mark was the only one in charge. The other identities of Moon Knight haven't played in. Recently, Mark has been working with his other personalities to help him in his pursuit as Moon Knight.
Through his therapist,
Yes.
more accurately, too.
So Jake picks them up, takes them to like the hottest bar, gets them in easy. He has all connections with the bouncers. This is typical Jake Lockley stuff.
And before we even get into that, how strong does this book open? Like, page 1.
Yeah,
it's
it's
Reese sitting there looking like she's like crying or something bad has happened. It's really dark. Moon Knight and the therapist are trying to get information out of Reese, and Reese is like, all right, here's my story. What's missing on page 1, right, that we go into this story? Soldier is nowhere in the first 2 pages. We don't see him until we get into the story.
Right.
Classic comic book trope, you don't see a character that they're going to immediately talk about. What's your thoughts on what happened to this character? Probably died.
Yeah.
And this has happened a couple times in Moon Knight already. He's lost people in his mission. Wouldn't be surprised for another character to die off, unfortunately. But yeah, man, so they're at this club.
Yep. They're just kind of dancing, having a good time. They notice the DJ is like messing with the people there, and there's been a couple incidents of Moon Knight villains using like auditory weapons against people, and this is another example of that. Completely unrelated to them being there. They find out later. They come to the conclusion later. This guy, it's a test. They're running a test at this club to see how this weapon would work. Luckily, Reese and Soldier are there. They start fighting against this guy.
Well, more accurately, this dude looks like the Mask of the Phantasm. I definitely wanted to say that. His character is very shadowy, very dark, awesome-looking design, even though we can't see a lot of it. Looks almost exactly like the Mask of the Phantasm. And the way he comes out of the shadows is very similar, too. In a way that they just mentioned Spider-Man in the Joker book, I felt like they were like giving shots to Batman in this Moon Knight book in the same way, without like doing it directly. And they do fight the villain, but more accurately, this auditory thing, this record that he submits the DJ, this Mask of the Phantasm guy. DJ's off, he throws on a new record. Reese and Soldier notice because the DJ is being broadcasted on like a TV thing in the background of the DJ. And the record turns literally everybody in the club crazy, except for the vampires who have different hearing things than the rest of us humans do.
Yeah.
That's where the fight starts. They have to fight through these humans to get to this Mask of the Phantasm.
Moon Knight shows up, flies through a skylight.
Breaks glass, classic Batman entrance.
Hell yeah. It's a splash page. Looks
Oh,
great.
God, it's good. I'm pulling the splash page up over here. Good gosh.
Moon Knight,
And there's been almost no Moon Knight in this book up to that point, too.
not even Mark Spector. Again, it's Jake Lockley in a taxi picking these two guys up.
You start thinking, like, you're 21 issues into this run. I would not be against having an issue that focuses on all of the side characters they established and not Moon Knight.
Because we haven't talked about this book, but Jed MacKay has been doing a really good job of... These are completely new characters.
Jed MacKay and Alessandro Cappuccio and Rochelle Rosenberg all deserve amazing credit. This is probably, if not the best Moon Knight run, the second best Moon Knight run there has ever been. Really great stuff.
Yeah, they're killing it. And they're really selling you on these side characters. Again, completely new. They almost have nothing to do with... Oh, well, yeah. But Tiger's not in this issue. I was talking about Soldier and
fair enough.
Reese. Doing a great job selling these characters. So they can't quite get to anyone. Moon Knight shows up, but he's not really that helpful yet. So Reese is like, I gotta get to this guy, and she wants to try out this vampire power she just learned from Blade. We learned Blade. Mark Spector hires or
this was a little
asks
forced.
Blade to help Reese use her vampire abilities. Blade isn't actually a vampire like her, though. She's like, I know in theory you can do this. You might never become solid again.
And there's so let me detail this a little bit better. In between the panels, and I have notes on this Blade appearance. You would think that there'd be like, so they talk about, okay, so Moon Knight's there, kicking butt. Everybody's kicking butt. Reese goes to defeat the main villain that we don't have a name for, and she's like, I can handle this myself because I trained with Blade. And then you turn the page as she's turning to smoke in this last panel. You turn the page and it's her talking to Blade. And so normally in a Marvel comic, or really in any comic, when somebody's like, yeah, you had me do this thing, there's the editor's note saying, hey, go catch this in issue blah, 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 or in Blade, blah, 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 blah. No editor's note. You flip the page, here's your editor's note. It's the whole page.
Yeah, well, doesn't happen.
They spend a whole page telling you that at some point in this run, which is not...
in between panels.
Is not clear, because it's pretty, like... There might be time in between panels, but it ain't much. This story doesn't seem to be happening outside of the comic itself that much. But apparently, there was a lot, because you don't go and trade with Blade for a day. You go and trade with Blade probably for like a month or something like that. So you ain't going to learn anything from Blade in a day. You're going to have to shadow this dude for quite a while. And we've been dealing with vampire stuff, I'd say, almost at issue 1.
Yeah, non-stop.
Almost issue 1. And there's been no Blade mention up until last issue in a backup story. So this whole, like, dodging Blade has been really weird, and I have background for it. I got to talk with Jed McKay at New York Comic Con that passed, and I asked him, dude, vampires and Moon Knight, come on, where's Blade? And his answer was editorial. They didn't want him to bring him in for one reason or the other. Chances are probably because at that very moment, which didn't even last that long after that, but at that very moment, Blade was still in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Blade immediately left the Avengers when this Moon Knight run started. So I don't know what disconnect on the editors, again, that I don't know even have a legitimate job at Marvel or DC Comics anymore.
I'm also sure it has something to do with that Blade movie. I imagine there were some reservations about using him, figuring out when to use him, trying to strategically use him around that movie.
Silly decisions. We finally get Blade, and it's forced.
Yeah. Super
forced. It's literally like the Solomon Grundy page out of the Joker book we were just talking about, but replaced with Blade, which you can't do that with that character. It doesn't work. This book is not chaotic. Moon Knight, this is more like a religion, cultural-based book where it has really defined parameters that you're trying to build this character within. And then you just go and shove us Blade for no reason to show that Reese has managed her vampire powers a little bit better. And then Blade makes a self-intelligent joke, self-aware joke, that he's not even the right person to be teaching her how to use his powers. Yeah. He's out there killing these people. He could give a care about how they use their powers and stuff. Yeah. And then we turn back to the page, and we're back with Reese, and she's kicking butt.
Yeah. Turns to smoke, beats the guy down. He's pretty easy to fight. He's just like a DJ. He's not that strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, so they end the issue with, they go back to Reese, and we find out that, Soldier didn't die, that he's just kind of not in the room, and they all made it out okay, and that they're trying to tie this back with this villain, Zodiac, who's been menacing Mark since basically issue 1 behind the scenes. And that's basically where the book ends. They're back in the therapy thing. So there's a trope that's going on with this book where each issue stands on its own. You don't need to read the prior or after issue.
Yeah.
Which is really difficult to do in an ongoing comic book, and I have to give compliments to everybody that's creative team on this book, because I'm prepared to hand an issue of Moon Knight anywhere in this run to anybody at any moment's notice, and if they don't enjoy it, they don't like comics. There's no way. This thing is written the way you want a comic to be written.
Yeah.
You want people to be able to jump on any issue. You want to be engaged by the issue. And furthermore, the ongoing plot and story is more apparent than even in the Joker title.
Yeah.
So even with these standalone issues, and I wouldn't say give this Joker book to somebody without giving them some background. I could give this
They'd
Moon
be
Knight.
so lost.
I could give this Moon Knight to anybody, and even without the summary page in the beginning of every Marvel book, they wouldn't be lost at all. You figure out who Moon Knight is through the issue real quick.
Yeah.
Jake Lockley, when he appears, there's some really cool art. It changes a little bit. Did you
Yeah.
catch that? And it's the same artist, which shows that Cappuccio and Rochelle Rosenberg are very versatile. And one of the moments one of the things in the art that I really noticed a change was the colors. Jake Lockley always comes with different colors. Yeah, it's muddier. Not only that, but it's more like bright lights that you would associate with nighttime, oranges and purples and like black light kind of colors and stuff of that nature. And
Whereas
it's
Moon Knight is like a lot of
whites,
luminescent blues,
blues, yeah, and blacks.
Yeah. Shadows and bright whites.
To show those dynamics that the character has.
Yeah.
Again, the art is absolutely killing it. This is another one of those books.
Cappuccio was almost new when he started this book,
Yeah.
and I feel like he's now one of Marvel's top artists.
Jed McKay met him for the first time at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
I met Jed McKay at the same time he met his creative team. Hilarious. This book is really solid. The only thing that took me out of it was the Blade appearance, and I can't argue or complain about that because I'm a Blade fan. I think that's been
And I imagine he's been wanting to do this forever,
Yeah.
especially with him saying, I've wanted to do Blade probably since issue 1.
Oh, yeah.
He's been trying to work this into the book. That's just the only place. I can imagine he's working towards something in this run. He's
Yeah.
been setting up a lot of, like, endgame.
It'd be really nice payoff if Blade gets incorporated into this story more.
Yeah.
Or we get some more background on Reese's training or something like that.
or something.
I would not be surprised if Jed McKay doesn't do exactly that in the next couple of issues. This guy is one of the most capable writers in comics right now, and it shows because if you look at his trajectory, that dude was basically a nobody before this Moon Knight run. This Moon Knight run has now given him Avengers.
Yep.
He's still writing the Mary Jane Black Cat thing.
Which book? That book is way better than has any right being. We'll never cover it, but it's actually really solid. And so is the main Black Cat book. Those are two books I thought would be terrible, and they're really good.
And I swear he's writing one or two other things that just aren't coming to. Oh, Magic the Gathering, and there's like even still one or two other titles that he's gotten since that he has gotten Moon Knight. You don't write Moon Knight to go to Avengers.
Unless you're writing this good of Moon Knight.
That's not a trajectory I've ever seen in comic books. You write Moon Knight, and then you fall away to unexistence, or you probably go back to the indie books that they pulled you out of to write Moon Knight.
Right.
So
Your Lemire and stuff.
it's just the way Max Ben is too. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the way Moon Knight is. You don't write Moon Knight and get Avengers. How did this guy do that? That's amazing. Moon Knight is the biggest book that sells here at PAL Card Games and Comics. Not that I sell a whole lot of comics, but out of all the comics that I do sell, Moon Knight's one of the biggest sellers. How? What happened? What is even going on in the world of comics where a lot of these titles are barely being bought, but Moon Knight's one of the more popular ones that's getting... It's on 21 issues.
There's not that many Moon Knight runs that made it.
The Lemire issue, Jeff Lemire is one of the biggest writers in comics right now. He's got TV shows and stuff going on. His run only went 14 issues, and it's because they were going to cancel it because it wasn't selling very well in comic form. Once that thing got to trade paperback, though, people were picking it up like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Which ends up happening with characters like Moon Knight all the time anyway. So to sell these comics already before it even gets to trade paperbacks, I can't compliment this team enough. Jed McKay and Alessandro Cappuccio and Rochelle Rosenberg are delivering the Marvel comic that I want to see out of Marvel. This is my favorite Marvel book by far. No competition. Can you say the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
And that's saying a lot considering Daredevil.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Daredevil is just as good as... It's comparable. They're not different, but Daredevil is as good.
I'd say Daredevil because Chris Potters is a Zdarsky fan more than me. Chris probably say Daredevil's better.
They're similar, though.
And, you know, it's hard for me to say that Moon Knight's better than Daredevil either, so I guess I agree with Chris.
They're like the same level, but they're like... There's like a gap.
Yeah.
If you see like a tier list, these are S tier. There's A tier, completely blank, then maybe a B tier.
Yeah.
There's like a gap between this and everything else Marvel's publishing.
And like I put things like Avengers in that A tier, or Wolverine maybe, or that's what I'm saying. The A tier is full of okay books.
Yeah,
Ghost
it
Rider
should
maybe.
be.
Like the Benjamin Percy titles are pretty good.
Yep.
The Jason Aaron titles are pretty good. The guys that are good at writing comics are still good at writing comics, but they're not. The Chip Zdarsky and Jed MacKay are raising the bar for everybody working at Marvel right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dang shame that Jed MacKay isn't writing a DC book. I would sell my next animal to get him on a DC book, man.
I can't say that. We need people at Marvel.
But
what would McKay write? Another Batman book?
I wouldn't even
You
care.
know.
You know, when I like a writer,
Flash would be fun.
when I like a writer, I'm down for whatever they want to do. If he wants to go over to DC and write Harley Quinn, looks like I'm picking up Harley Quinn books now. I really doesn't matter to me when it comes to like teams that I will follow just because they have proved themselves.
I think
over-
Marvel needs Jed MacKay though,
For
so
sure.
I don't want him to leave.
For sure, but he's writing Magic, so that clearly shows. And Zdarsky's writing Marvel and DC books.
Yeah.
And he's a writer; he could do both at the same time. DC, if you're watching this show, pick up Jed MacKay before he signs a Marvel exclusive contract, unless he already did. You got anything to add to this, Chris?
No,
I
it's a
think-
solid issue.
Yeah, I think it ends pretty hard.
Yep.
It ends with Reese like talking about Zodiac. You flip the page expecting there to be maybe more comic, and it's a reveal of the cover of the next one, which has Zodiac right on the cover with Tigra in his hands. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. I'm excited to read the next issue. You know it'll be on the Weekly Wednesday Warrior, and that's for sure.
One thing I would like to say before we end.
Yeah.
We haven't had a week like this in a while. These are 3 royally strong books. We only did 3 this week, so that helps a little bit, but not since week 1 have we. And since week 1, we haven't covered either of these books. They're back, and we're having another banner week. Again, this was super enjoyable when there were times in the last 3 weeks that I wasn't having as good a time reading the comics we were reading.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really good week.
Dude, I was up late reading these comics, as I was telling you before.
Yeah.
And I was getting tired. Like, physically, I could feel my eyes wanting to sink and, like, fall asleep.
Yeah.
And reading all 3 of these issues, every time I started reading them, woke me up again.
Uh-huh.
Which is saying a lot about a comic book. You're reading
There's no audio. There's no movement.
It's
to
all
keep you.
it's all
have
you
to
focusing on the
You're
book.
making the book engaging.
And
so.
here I am, sleep deprived at 2 o'clock in the morning on daylight savings day, trying to read my comics, and I'm fully engaged. I don't think there's anything we need to say more here, Chris Potter.
Nope.
All right, Weekly Wednesday Warrior fans, stay tuned to the next episode. We'll definitely cover these titles again. It'll probably be in the same week again next time they come out, so expect this stuff again. We got Shonen Jump coming at the end of this coming week, probably. It's going to be in the next week or week and a half or so.
Yep.
And it's going to be the March 2003 issue, which is exactly 20 years ago, so it's a 20th anniversary review. Stay posted. Subscribe. Follow. Click that like button. Thank you for watching.